Almost exactly 1 year ago today, Hurricane Maria slammed into Puerto Rico. As a result, the island's already crumbling infrastructure was crippled, with residents left in the dark for months on end. Decimated houses, a lack of clean water, and a shortage of food left Puerto Rico's residents reeling. And it was only recently that the island's government raised the official death toll to almost 3,000 after having maintained for months that only 64 people had died as a result of the storm. With Puerto Rico already experiencing economic turmoil before Maria made landfall, the road to recovery continues to be complicated. So, what are the biggest remaining challenges on the island, and what are some of the ways to best meet those challenges? For answers, we turn now to Jody Rory. She is an associate professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and the founder of the Hurricane Maria Assistance and Relief Institutional Alliance. Professor, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Rafael.
So, Professor, you were in Puerto Rico when Maria hit. So tell us, what memories of that experience linger in your mind? What has stuck? What can't you shake off from that experience?
I can't even begin to tell you what of all of the many things I can't forget, but it was one of the worst experiences of my life, especially to see people dying. That was just absolutely horrific. It really looked like an Armageddon a Hiroshima bomb had just hit the island. It was totally devastated. I remember when I had to seek shelter. I'm actually in my apartment here in Isla Verde, where the hurricane just devastated this area as well. And I had to seek refuge at a friend's house. And I remember being locked up with my two children, they're a set of twins that are 12 years old, and trying to explain to young children that the screeching sounds and all of the explosive sounds that we were hearing through our window, that I was going to keep them safe, and trying to convince myself that I was going to keep myself safe, the people that I was with safe, and trying to make that a reality for my children, knowing all along that I didn't know what was going to happen to me.
So 1 year after Maria, what is the situation on the island?
So unfortunately, the situation on the island remains a little bit better than it was post-Maria, but it still remains devastated. And I want to tell you that we need help. And despite whatever anybody else tells you, we need help, and we need help now. There are people that still do not have electricity. There are people that do not have access to clean water. There are still people that need food. They don't have meals. We had a recent study that shows that our food insecurity and our hunger rate in Puerto Rico is higher than it has ever been before. There are people that are not employed. There's a lack of jobs. We have a fiscal board that has a lot of constraints on the government, the local government here. There are people that are homeless. There are people that are working homeless, which is really, really sad.
As you know, President Trump recently said that the U.S. response to Hurricane Maria was, quote, one of the best jobs that's ever been done. From what you describe, it sounds like maybe that's not accurate.
That is absolutely not accurate. I wish that it was, and I wish that I wasn't here having this conversation with you, and I wish I wasn't here late last night driving in total darkness from Ponce to San Juan after I was meeting with 90 doctors to talk to them about what we were able to provide for them to help our people who are U.S. citizens on the island of Puerto Rico, Vieques and Culebra. So I want to say, yes, that's not an accurate statement. I personally am very privileged to have been in Isla Verde, which didn't suffer as much devastation as the mountainous regions. And even then, being next to the Verdanza Hotel and the Intercontinental, where many of these workers were, we never saw any aid. So if I'm in a metropolitan area and I didn't see aid, I think that's a problem. I'm not saying that there aren't great FEMA soldiers and there aren't people in FEMA that want to help. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that the response was totally inadequate.
Okay. So, as I said in the introduction, you are the founder and CEO of the Hurricane Maria Assistance and Relief Institutional Alliance. Tell us, what's the mission of that alliance and who is involved in it?
Right. So we have a great group of people that are involved in our alliance. I was able to recruit the most amazing doctors and nurses throughout the whole United States to come back with me on a plane that was just really supported by JetBlue, that gave us a plane, and we brought medicine and doctors, and we did medical brigades. And what we did was very holistic. We worked with the existing brigades that were in the island in a very anti-colonial way, saying, what is it that we can do to help you? And we worked with the government, and we asked them to certify our doctors so we can have doctors that were certified to practice medicine. And we were able to help many, many people by bringing medication, medical relief, food, and water to Puerto Rico.
The help that you need, somebody viewing right now in less than 20 seconds, what can we do?
So you can go to our website, www.hurricanemariainc.weebly, that's weebly.com, and that will link you to 3 of our sites. We also have a project that we're working with the American College of Surgeons, Operation Giving Back, to provide free surgical care to people that are uninsured in the island. That is something that we're going to be rolling out at the American College of Surgeons meeting in October in Boston. So please look out for that.
All right, Professor, well, thank you so much for joining us today, for all the work you're doing. It's a difficult situation. Thanks for your efforts.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for bringing attention to the U.S. citizens in Puerto Rico.